What's going on?
Nice.
Are you serious?
What was that?
Fuck it, we're keeping it. Hey everybody, welcome to Shooting the Ish. This is Chris along with Brian and George.
Oh yeah.
And we're joined today by a special guest, Bryce.
All right.
How's it going, Bryce?
How you doing?
Pretty good. Bryce is a comic book and all sorts of
And a band too. Yeah.
Comic book aficionado and all other sorts of aficionado. What are you into?
He's an official aficionado.
I like Greek. I like Greek mythology and Greek food and.
That's right up your alley,
Hey, are you
George.
sucking up to George? Or you're being serious.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I like pretty much everything nerdy. I really dig comic books. I love movies. I love great soundtracks actually. I like a well-written story and a well put together world that's fun to travel to, and you can get there in a variety of ways. And any way I can, that's what I choose to use, I guess. Now I sound like some kind of weird like freak who lives in fictional universe all the time, but yeah. No, that kind of stuff.
When I first, I guess what George first told me about you is that you were one of the few people who did not like Gravity.
Oh God, we're gonna start with this. Okay. Well, yeah, Gravity was, it was definitely an incredible experience. I told everybody who I talked to after I saw it, you need to go see it in IMAX. You need to go see it in theaters. You need to see it in 3D. You need to get the full effect. Because technically speaking, that movie was really well put together. However, on Rotten Tomatoes, it had gotten a 98%, and at the time, I think that had made it like the second or third highest rated movie on the site. Which they reviewed, weird, Italian movies from like 1950 whatever, and so when you have basically all these movies that are on this website, and this is the second of all of them, it made it seem like people were really elevating this film to something that I really didn't believe it was. And in fact, the lady behind me confirmed that the minute that the movie ended, she goes, "This was a religious experience for me." And I just wanted to be like, "Are you serious?" I gotta give it to the director, Alfonso Cuarón. And I gotta also say this too. I want Gravity to be my favorite movie of the year. I had been looking forward to it since they started releasing the concept and the posters, even before the trailer. And then once the trailer hit, it was like, oh, this is going to be as awesome as I want it to be. And I was so taken out by the writing and the story, and not really the acting, but more of just the way that it was executed, everything but technically. It was really hard for me to give it the too enthusiastic thumbs up that so many people were willing to give.
What was it specifically about the writing? Did you feel like it was too forced, like one thing leading to another, or?
My biggest thing was in the first 10 minutes, and I guess this is a spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, but in the first 10 minutes, that stuff is going to go down because it's already starting to build. It starts right out in space, And the reason that there's any tension, that there's any conflict in the movie, that anything goes wrong, is because Russians have a satellite, or I don't even remember, maybe 2 satellites, I don't remember what it was. They had a satellite or more floating out in space that they decided we don't want anymore. And so they shot a missile up into space and they blew it up, and this caused a debris storm so vast and terrible that it orbited Earth a few times and destroyed multiple space stations, multiple satellites that just so happened to be like all in that same orbital path, which that it wasn't like I was looking for like crazy realistic things, and they were so many incredible details that, like, I don't know if they're right, but it just felt so real. But when you have, like, all those things right in a row and right next to each other, it was just like, wait, that's not like that. There's no way that's like that. And the fact that Russia just decided, oh, hey, we don't need this, let's blow it up. Oh, shit, it's going to cause a storm that, destroys everything. The whole premise was just a little bit weak for me. Well, now, I looked it up afterwards, and Russians once have actually done that. They actually have discovered that they didn't want this spy satellite anymore, and they blew it up. But that was like at the beginning of the space program, and there's no way it caused a storm that big. But that was the blanket of all of my things, because every time the storm comes around, you're reminded again, oh yeah, this is that storm again. But I was reminded, oh yeah, this is that lazy writing again.
I think you're too smart to watch that movie, Gravity.
Well, but that's the thing is, I know a lot of brilliant people too who gave it the enthusiastic thumbs up that people who.
Well, I guess it's like this. I guess what is a movie? When the movie started, it was, you go in and you get mesmerized by a woman being tied to a train track and the illusion that the train's going to hit her. I mean, how many times do people get tied to train tracks in real life? This was more of just a visual, stunning piece. Does a movie specifically need those things to be a spectacle or draw or to be considered a good thing to look at?
In my personal opinion, if it's going to be the second highest rated film of all time, it needs to be, And
I guess so.
If it's if it's brilliant spectacle without much else to it, then you could go watch Avatar again. And Avatar was a blast. I went to go see it 3 times, but I didn't feel like people were as crazy about the movie as they were this one. And that was grossed way more money. But I just felt like the overall reception of Gravity was a little bit different than it was with Avatar.
Because Gravity seemed real, and the way that Karan does those secret no cuts or hidden cuts, it really brings you into it.
His filmmaking was righteous. He was awesome. It really was on a technical level as great as you could have wanted it to be. Anybody who has a problem with that, I'm sorry, you don't have. you just don't have the eye, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, I loved everything about it.
But I guess the Rotten Tomatoes scale doesn't really say if the movie is a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. It just says who likes it and who didn't. And overwhelmingly, everyone, critics and audience, seem to agree that this was the movie of the year that critics and audiences agree on, I guess is what I'm saying.
And I've been working on my movie of the year list, and I've got it narrowed down to 5, and I can't take this one off of it quite yet, because of the impact that I know that it had on the culture around me. I mean, it was undeniable, and it was definitely something that's recognizable and tangible for sure.
Right. Okay, so now I guess shifting gears from a smart outer space movie to a not as smart outer space movie, me and Bryce saw Thor 2, The Dark World.
Oh, so did you go see it today?
I saw it today. Brian and George.
What'd you think?
It was okay. It was. I like Thor. I like the whole Thor thing. Thor himself is cool, but it was interesting. What did you think?
Well, both George and Brian, have you guys seen it?
You have to pay me to go see that. I have no interest in seeing a white boy with a hammer. Sorry.
Okay.
Or if he was a man of color, you'd want to see it? Not even.
Let me then real quick before we get into opinions on the movie. Let me give like a.
He's got a hammer.
let me give you like Hammer Time. Remember MC Hammer?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Let me give you a rundown of the first act. Before we give our opinions. Okay, so basically what has happened is Thor is in his home world and Natalie Portman's in her home world, and they're thinking about each other. Now, one issue that they almost broached but didn't quite go there is that Thor has an extremely hot female in his party.
Yeah, I remember that in the first
Why
one.
Thor cares about Natalie Portman, I have no clue. He should have learned his lesson from watching Star Wars. And I would say he should dump Natalie Portman and go for that girl in his party. Anyway, so
right.
It happens that there's an ancient race of elves that was sealed away forever, and which Natalie Portman somehow stumbles upon and unlocks them onto the universe. And they turn energy and matter into antimatter or dark matter. And there's a whole concept of them the planets are aligning, and when they do, these dark elves are going to take all the planet's energy and basically destroy the universe. It kind of gets a little bit garbled because of the Avengers, because in these post-Avengers Marvel movies, they keep referencing the Avengers, and it's kind of like, guys, get over the Avengers, like, mate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Bryce, what did you think of it?
Well, it's not necessarily a reference to Avengers so much as it is building up for Avengers 2 and 3, and keeping the universe alive throughout the individual movies. I felt like in Iron Man 3, I had the problem where it was like, wait a minute, we just saw the Avengers totally kick ass, and now, you know, like, there's this huge threat and no one's gonna help Iron Man, like. He has this whole team.
Right.
Whereas in Thor, it felt more standalone. It felt more independent because of its cosmic scale. And while the story was definitely ridiculous, I don't feel like it was trying to be anything more than like a train track, like you said, to put on these like different tropes after trope after trope, and they pretty much just. You know, did like a Lord of the Rings in space type fantasy with a pretty standard bare bones story, not much to it, but I really didn't have any issues as far as like, you know, but this, me being a guy who's gone to see all the other ones leading up to it, of course I'm going to go see this one and be a little bit biased. I will say I didn't like the first Thor. That and Captain America are actually two of my least favorite. And I'm looking forward to Captain America 2 significantly, and I thought that this one was pretty awesome, especially for somebody who didn't like the first one.
Wow, I actually really liked the first one. I liked how he was kind of like fish out of water and doing those weird, those like otherworldly quotes. Right. That was kind of taken away in this one because they were a lot in his world and different planets. There was a lot of intense action scenes bouncing from world to world to world to world. Visually stunning movie. A little bit silly with the side characters running around and
goofy as hell, right?
Yeah, it got progressively goofier as it went along. Actually,
right. I had a blast watching it. It's not on my movie of the year list. I think it's one of the better standalone Avengers movies that we've had, but I think the Avengers movie itself was on a whole different level, and most of those movies haven't really competed with that. This one doesn't by any means, but I do think it was a blast, and I got to give it to Marvel for, you know, creating this money bank that they can just keep hitting over the head with it, and it's still a blast to give my money to. You know?
Yeah, they also brought back Loki. He did a good job, of course. Loki
he's an internet god right now. I don't know if you know, Tom Hiddleston, the guy who plays him, is just he's like the new, you know, Jonathan Taylor Thomas or whatever. All these chicks love Loki, and I feel like the story was a little bit influenced by the popularity of the character because it was very much a Loki movie. Thor, I mean, he was definitely the main story, but Loki was right there alongside him the whole time, and even when it split off into Loki's own thing. I mean, it was very heavily focused on Loki.
Right, and they kept him a villain even as he was part of Thor's party, which was pretty cool.
Their dynamic has got to be interesting just because of the level of badass that we saw him be in the Avengers movie, you know?
This is not to be confused with Thor's other brother, Chris Hemsworth, who famously turned Miley Cyrus into her current whore persona.
She just turned 21, by the way.
What does that mean? She could smoke in New York?
Have you guys watched her documentary?
What's that?
Oh,
Like 2 weeks after that whole twerk thing, I started seeing billboards for Miley, the movement, a documentary on MTV. And it's about, I don't know, a documentary about how she's brilliant, or maybe out of her mind. It's MTV, so it's got to be a little bit whack.
I don't know. I never heard of that. We saw her on Saturday Night Live. It was, it was what it was.
Was she funny?
She was, not taking anything away from her talent. She was probably the best part of the show. It's just that Saturday Night Live is pretty lame these days.
Uh-huh.
Right. I think Saturday Night Live is one of those things that you get into it for when you're like when you first watch it, that's your favorite cast, and then everything after that is kind of
right. Well, I mean, it's pretty bad at this point where, like, for instance, Kerry Washington is the best SNL cast member considering she's a guest star. All the other players who are regulars, with the exception of a few, suck, to put it lightly.
There's one girl who plays a very Midwestern character. She's okay, but again,
One of my favorite websites is called Topless Robot, and I go there it's like a nerd culture website. They have a feature called I Watch SNL So You Don't Have To. And like anytime there's like a gym in the rough, they'll post it on there. And the most recent one they did was one parodying Wes Craven, not Wes Craven, I'm sorry, Wes Anderson. And it was so funny because they nailed his style to a T, all the little, quirkiness that he puts in, and they really hit the nail on the head. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you look it up. Yeah, the internet has certainly turned variety shows into shows that you don't watch anymore because you don't have to watch the whole hour to find those gems. Just when something good happens, someone will post it, and that's the name of that feature is genius. It really is. It's like I watch this, you don't have to. That's perfect.
Right. Well, I mean, then this is the case with proliferation of media now. There's no demand for people to watch prime time on its, actual slot anymore. So now it forces the networks to actually put out like really good material, for people to actually take notice. Now more than ever.
Yeah, if something doesn't have like for instance, a variety show has let's say 20 skits, that's 20 beginning to ends. If you catch people, they might stick around till the end, but if you're going to keep starting and stopping, there's no reason for anyone to keep watching, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, again, like for instance, there's so much there's just way too many funny stuff or more interesting stuff out there now, that people get their hands on that. They don't have to, just wait, until 8 or 9 o'clock, primetime hours just to watch it. So. Yeah.
Anything else regarding Thor? I'm trying to think.
I was just curious. So you guys would take Lady Sif over what's her name? What the hell's? I mean Natalie Portman's character.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
My favorite character in Thor 2 is Kat Dennings' character. I don't even remember her name, but Kat Dennings is pretty.
Yeah.
She's really funny, and I don't know, she's pretty awesome. She's definitely one of those actresses that Marvel did a good job of putting her in the movies, and she probably doesn't even read the books, but I don't care,
Right. She definitely holds it as a strong comedic relief. I'd like to see her in other roles as a comedic relief character.
Yeah.
What was she in? She was in Nick and Nora as a main character.
Right.
That's right.
Two Broke Girls is obviously it is what it is. That's a main character spot too, kind of.
So, Brian, you had said that you were looking forward to Captain America 2 a second ago. You echoed that?
Yeah, and I saw the trailer and I like where they're going with it in terms of like making it a political espionage thriller.
Right.
And I'm also amazed at the fact that they got Redford to be a part of this. So I'm kind of curious as to what his role is going to be in this film. Just because, in his heyday, he used to do a lot of political thrillers, like 3 Days in the Condor and All the President's Men, which are classics for the most
part.
Well,
even recently he did the Company You Keep about the Weather Underground, and I actually haven't even seen it yet, but it's one of my ones that I really want to watch because that whole story is pretty cool in and of itself. But one of the later trends that we've been seeing in these comic book movies is like pretty significant actors stepping into the villain role, and I think it was really kicked off. Well, obviously Jack Nicholson back in the day, but like in this later generation, Heath Ledger really stepped it up, and so you got people like, as recently as Iron Man 3, Ben Kingsley is like, a great, and he's, stepping into the role of a villain. I think Robert Redford, I just think it's a little bit suspicious, not like, I just think, why would you waste an actor of his caliber on some kind of, government character that's going to serve as a little bit of a, story aid for the, information gathering, whatever, which is what it presents it like. Or I think it's going to end up in being some kind of villain behind the scenes. I just think it's too cool of an idea not to. And if they haven't, then they should listen to this podcast and then take that idea.
Especially like, especially with an actor who's or a movie star who's as iconic as Redford, for him to be like some guy who's just like as a guy who's just going to be filling in the story gaps, it would be kind of weird if he's not going to be part of the twist. It would be cool to see him play a villain because he's not really known for playing villains. He's always usually playing the good guy for the most part.
Now, where does Spider-Man fit into all this Avengers stuff?
Unfortunately, he doesn't because
it's just not considered the same universe.
Yeah, because Sony still owns the rights, the movie rights to Spider-Man, and from what I read recently, they are going to try and do some Spider-Man spin-off movies. From what I've heard, I don't know who they're going to try and focus on. The only thing I can think of is like Black Cat in the Spider-Man universe. But I'm hoping and praying that that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 flops so hard that Sony sells the movie rights back to either Paramount or Disney for the most part.
They're not. I don't think they'll do that.
They won't.
Well, the whole reason they rebooted these movies is to keep the movie rights. They had it in their contract where their Spider-Man rights would revert from Sony back to Marvel if they weren't active within a certain amount of time. And it was about to expire because Spider-Man 3 had already come out. So they rebooted Amazing Spider-Man strictly to keep Spider-Man from going to Disney. So I doubt it'll flop just because it's Spider-Man, and I don't know, the first one I didn't think it was great at all. In fact, I didn't like it very much, but it made its money, and I think that as long as Marvel is attached in some way, it's going to continuously be a money grabber.
Was that also the story with Superman Returns? It seems such a random entry. It seems like, why would you have a random sequel after 20 years? Why not reboot the whole thing?
You're right. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Especially, they were going to try and they're going to reconnect part 1 and 2 to this latest entry, and it's such a wide gap that by that point I don't think anyone cared. So, and out of all those franchises, that one seriously needed a reboot, and I thought that Snyder hit a home run out of the park. Yeah, there was some.
They actually came out with a couple potential names.
I
guess.
Dude, these names are hilarious. Read them.
Yeah, I don't have them in front of me, but they all have some semblance of the word darkness in it, right. or what? Bryce, do you know any of them?
Yeah, it's like Nightfall, Darkness Falls, Night of Darkness, Man of Steel, The Darkness, and it's like all. And seriously, I can pull it up if you want me to read. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, so I guess apparently people just were calling this Batman vs Superman, and then there's also a comic book that actually has Batman and Superman that this is inspired by, called Best of what is it called?
World's Finest.
World's Finest, yeah, and so the
I don't understand. Why don't they just
I
just don't understand. Why don't they just use World's Finest?
World's Finest is an amazing title. I think they should.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that is a great title.
Why are they trying to
Well, what happened was Warner Brothers. The way this spilled out is that Warner Brothers basically registered a bunch of names on the internet, so people were able to see what names they were registering, and the names are kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, but I just don't understand what the hell's wrong with World's Finest. Enough with the word dark in every goddamn title. I'm sick of that shit now. Thor, The Dark World, Star Trek, Into Darkness. Oh yeah, and my personal favorite, Transformers, Dark of the Moon. Not Darkness of the Moon, Dark of the Moon. What the
darkness is? Darkness is.
What the hell, man?
Fuck no count.
Yeah.
What were those names?
All right, so here's number 8. The Blackest Hour. Man of Steel. The Blackest Hour. Number 7.
Yeah, man.
The Darkness End.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I got that kryptonite, man.
Yeah. Got that
number
got
7.
That dark cape, man.
Yeah. Number 6. Shadow of the Night. Man of Steel. Shadow of the Night.
These sound like random cartoon reboots of Superman.
Oh, I know. Oh, number 5. Night Falls. Number 4.
They should have called it Wishing Falls. That was a good one.
I know.
What was number 4?
Yeah.
Number 4 is Darkness Falls. Number 3.
That was a movie about a tooth fairy. That was already a movie. That's what's awesome.
Right. Number 3, you're gonna love this one. Black of Night.
Yeah.
What?
Black of Night. Number 3.
Let's go see Man of Steel Black of Night, man. Man of Steel Black of Night.
Oh, number 2.
Racism is too much, yo.
Hey, right, and number 2 is a nod to Batman Beyond Darkness. Oh shit, I can't see.
I think Batman needs to go take care of those guys playing Knockout in New Jersey.
And number one, Battle the Night. Battle the Night.
Well, none of these at all references the fact that Batman and Superman will be in the same movie.
To me, these are all garbage titles, and they should not even they shouldn't even entertain this on any trade paper.
You know what though? This could all be a swerve. This could be like random little Flash animation games that they're gonna make to promote the movie.
I mean, that's how it would work, but I mean, not as a film. If you want people to take those two iconic characters seriously,
Well, yeah, people are guessing these web domains are for the film. Maybe they're for promotional material.
Let's just hope so. For Warner Brothers' sake,
Just call it Ben Affleck versus who's gonna be Batman? No,
Superman.
Well, who's gonna be Superman? What's his name?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, just call it that.
Cavill, formerly Fat Cavill. He was fat when he was a kid. Go figure.
Fat Cal.
Fat Cavill.
Fat Cap.
Apparently he's a real jerk. I don't know if that's true or not.
Superman?
Who told you that shit? Bryce.
My friend. No,
Batman told me.
There's been a few stories online about him like being let me see if I can pull one up here.
Yeah, I heard Brandon Roth saying that.
Being a real super dick. I just had to throw that in there. That's all.
George, you chopping peppers over there?
I'm not even moving. That's not coming from me.
It's coming from me. James Franco. It was him and James Franco were having a little dispute. That's what it was.
There was no dispute. It was just basically, it was something like, he figured that Franco was just going to try and steal his thunder. That's normal.
I see.
Yeah, man.
In terms of, it was kind of cool.
Is that a switchboard, George?
No, that's it's a secret.
Yeah. Secret, big secret.
Okay, this is I don't know, Bryce. I don't know if you're into Zelda at all.
Yeah, Zelda for sure.
When I was growing up, I beat like most of them. I haven't beat the last couple because I haven't been into it. I don't have a system like that. But anyway, a new Zelda game came out. Specifically, this is a specific sequel to A Link to the Past from the Super Nintendo.
What?
The reason I'm tying this in is because Thor: The Dark World, that Zelda for Super Nintendo had the Dark World.
Well, I had a good Zelda thing queued up for you.
Oh, nice. I see.
All right, no Zelda.
Okay, so Zelda came out with A Link Between Worlds, which is a direct sequel to Link to the Past. And it's basically the best reviewed Zelda game since Wind Waker, which was like 10 years ago. I don't know, Bryce, which ones of the series that you like. I always thought Link to the Past for Super Nintendo was far better than the Nintendo 64 Ocarina of Time.
Oh.
Did you say Korean of Time? Got Koreans in the show.
Korean of Time?
Korean of Time.
I know several people. I know several people who would be heartbroken at those words.
I never understood. I just didn't think. Okay, for instance, as a 16-bit game, Link to the Past was completely polished. So, in terms of its format, that's about as good as you could get for the technology you had at the time. Whereas the one for 64, the graphics were not great for the 64 in general. And also, they introduced this whole system of like different races of creatures, and you went to different sections to visit the different races of creatures. I didn't think that was necessary at all. And a lot of the stuff got basically remade and remade and remade, so that all these new Zelda games are basically just a rehash of Ocarina of Time for 64.
Well, I definitely agree that Ocarina heavily influenced the franchise after it came out, but I know for a fact that both Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, the games that follow it, I get Majora's Mask is the one that immediately follows it, but as in terms of later consoles and just later, full-fledged adaptations, the storytelling and the way that the puzzles unfold and the way that the game itself is about as Zelda-like as all the other ones are, and it is the same gameplay, but I think Wind Waker is probably my favorite Zelda as of right now. It's because it's the most recent one I beat, but I beat it maybe 6 months ago for the first time, and I thought that it was just astounding. One of the huge improvements that the Wii U version has is they've cut out all the sailing, they've made it way shorter. Is they took out, like, halfway through the production of the game, they took out a dungeon, and so there's just like these huge spaces of like gaps in Wind Waker where you have to sail and sail and sail and sail. Right. Not literal gaps. I mean, like you're in an open sea, but I'm just talking in terms of story. Like it fills so much time. And so with that removed, I'm really anxious on playing the new Wind Waker. But this new one definitely looks awesome because it's that over the top style that Link to the Past was, but with 3D, which is something that looks really cool.
Right, and it is a testament to Link to the Past that graphical style keeps coming back. Although there have been 3D games, for instance, they did Four Swords Adventures. That was Link to the Past themed, or at least the graphical style was. And now this one's a direct sequel. Link's Awakening for the Game Boy was also a direct sequel, but it was a Game Boy game, and it was black and white when it came out, or black and green, or whatever the original Game Boy was. But this one, they say the puzzles are perfectly designed, and you don't have to go in order. That was something that early Zelda games had, that you didn't always necessarily have to play the dungeons in order. In a way you did, but you didn't always have to. Another thing that introduced in Wind Waker was that water system where you had to travel from place to place over. You couldn't just walk from place to place anymore. You needed to have a direction and go there. And then you see extreme examples in those ones for the DS. What is that? Spirit Tracks, where you can't even walk around in the world map. You just have to go from place to place based on a rail system. So it's good that they have a world that's all together and you can walk up, down, left, or right and go to different sections of that map wherever you want to go.
Right.
And it doesn't take too long to get there. And certainly with the later Zelda games from Ocarina of Time onward, it just takes forever to go anywhere because they want to give it this big, grand, massive feel, but they're forgetting that it is a puzzle game at its core.
Well,
that's just my take on it.
Do you have a 3DS? Are you going to play this new one?
I don't think I'll be able to. Maybe I could try to scheme one of my little cousins and borrow it, but
my roommate has a 3DS.
I feel terrible about myself.
I'm sure at some point we'll be tracking down that game to play it because it definitely looks like it's going to be pretty rocking. It's already released, right? It's already out?
Yeah, it's out.
Cool.
That's about it on that. Okay, so in terms of gaming, the PS4 and the Xbox also just came out.
Yippee.
I don't think either of them are worth my time. as far as money, but
yeah,
I'll definitely be holding out.
Yeah, are any of you guys gonna buy these?
No. Nope.
I know there's no real reason to. I mean, I have an Xbox 360. You could access you could do like HD on there and all that. You could get Netflix or one of these VOD services on there. So there's no real reason to get super high resolution graphics or whatever. Even though, yeah, it seems unnecessary, I guess.
Right. Well, right now it says here that over 1 million Xbox Ones sold on day one, which has matched the PS4. So.
Nice.
Oh, it's a dead heat.
Really interesting.
Yeah, dead heat. It's real dead heat.
That should be your DJ name, Brian. You should be DJ Dead Heat.
DJ Dead Heat.
DJ Dead Air.
DJ Dead Air.
Thank you.
Well, I think what the PlayStation is $400 and the Xbox is $500. Is that what the deal is? It doesn't make. That's stupid on Microsoft's part. That is stupid.
$390. Yeah, it's four. Yeah, you're right. PS4 is $400. The Xbox $500.
How do you release competing consoles which are basically capable of the same exact thing? For $100 less than the other. Microsoft is stupid by doing that. They're setting themselves up for failure. At least within the first year or so. Who's going to spend an extra $100 on an Xbox when you can get the same thing on a PlayStation for $100 less?
Well, the thing is by next Christmas they're already going to go through their first price drop, and they'll probably both be competitively priced then. But for this first year, Xbox One had a whole different style that it was going to go for. It had like all these exclusive online stuff, and it aimed to be a totally different console. And when the fans were like, "We hate everything that you just told us, Microsoft," they pretty much backpedaled, and they blanketed it as they disguised it. We listen to our fans. We know what people want, but really all it was a oh shit type moment where they just kind of realized that everything that they were going to do was wrong. So I'm actually like tech wise and stats wise, I'm not sure what the specs are on each system, but I do know that up until just a few months ago, Xbox One was pretty much intended to be a little bit different than the way it came out.
Well, yeah, as far as buying the consoles first, at launch, doesn't make sense anymore. When I was a kid, I used to always want the consoles, like first day they came out, I'd just say, oh man, I can't believe I have this, but at this point, I mean, it doesn't even make any sort of difference. I can't even play video games anymore, to be honest with you. I get like seizures.
Yeah, motion sickness. I know, we're getting old.
I still have plenty of Nintendo games on the original one that I haven't played. Why would I go buy it now?
What, the NES?
Yeah.
You gotta blow on those cartridges and lick them and all that?
Dude, I don't have to do that anymore. Last night, actually, coincidentally, I took my Nintendo to get the pin connector replaced, and so now it is like a brand new machine from 1983. Or 1985, whenever they came out.
Really?
Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Well, what happened, I guess, last generation was the Wii. Okay, what happened was that the Wii sold great because it was a game station that old people could play. Wii bowling on.
It was also very cheap.
Christmas parties.
It was significantly cheaper than the other two.
Yeah, it was for kids and families, and everyone could play it. It sold a lot. But in terms of the Xbox in terms of the gaming machines, let's put it that way. Let's call them that. Xbox 360 versus PS3. Basically, if you put them side by side, the PS3 slightly outperformed the Xbox in terms of graphics, lighting, and whatnot. But the Xbox has that gaming culture of everyone who's on Xbox Live. It was a little cheaper, both in terms of hardware, but also I think in terms of price. The PS3 launched at a high price, $600.
Jeez, really?
Yeah.
Now keep in mind, this is the longest generation of consoles that have been out. This stuff came out in 06? Was it 05?
05.
06.
The PS1 came out in 2001.
Yeah.
Wow.
Excuse me, PS2 came out in 2001. So that was only out for 4 years. 4 years before that, and the generation before that was only out for about 4 or 5 years. So these have been out for 7 years.
It could have gone another 5 years, I think.
Yeah, I guess it got to the point where the industry just needed to move forward and take a gamble. Well, we also went through the recession in the middle of right after those consoles came out. So no one's going to buy that crap.
I definitely feel like on my Xbox 360, Grand Theft Auto 5 is taking it to its limits. So like you have to install that 8 gig disc at before.
Oh yeah.
And then like the entire time you're playing, or not the entire time, but there's just always this feeling of like, man, my Xbox is maxed out right now.
That's about to fry.
Well, right. On all the new systems, every game you have to install.
Right. Which is really weird to me too. That's kind of why I stayed away from PC games in the first place.
Right. Yeah. I guess the games are so. I guess the graphical requirements are so heavy at this point that you need to have stuff on the hard drive.
Yeah, but at the same time, with all these new systems, they're not going to be displayed on these at this point 5-year-old LCD TVs that we all have.
Yeah, I mean, what are these things formatted for 4K and all this?
I have no idea.
Yeah, they are. I know the 360 is. I mean, whatever the hell they call
Xbox
it, the
One.
Xbox One.
They certainly screwed the pooch with the naming conventions here. Well, I think the reason they did that because the Xbox, the original Xbox, competed with the PS2, so you couldn't call that 1, 2, 3, 4, or would constantly be behind the PlayStation in terms of numbering.
Yeah, but if they called it the 720, that wouldn't be, or whatever the fuck.
They should call it the Xbox 420. Xbox 420.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Xbox One, I guess. I didn't even know that was the name of it. But, they do support, I'm pretty sure they support those new 4K ultra high def. But at the same time, I don't think many people's budgets support these ultra high def 4K $6,000 televisions. And I saw one in action. I saw a Xbox One racing game. I don't know what game it was in action the other day at the mall. And it
on a 4K?
Yeah, it looks ridiculous. But it's how many people can actually have that? You know, I have a $350 LCD. That looks good, but I don't know if you'll be able to see these jaw-dropping graphics that these systems are capable of at this point.
Yeah. And where do these pixels come from?
The moon.
Tron.
Do they ever? It's like there's millions of pixels on each screen. That's a lot of pixels on the Earth. We're gonna run out.
I think there's enough to go around. Yeah.
Where do we get these pixels? Okay, so let's get into some technology news. Bryce, you were saying something earlier.
Yeah, I was, and
I'm sorry,
and will again. There on Google, somebody got the urge one day to Google flying car patent, and found that just recently there actually has been a design for a flying car that has been patented, and there was no official announcement or any kind of, hey, we have the flying car idea. It was real low profile, and he found it only by looking at the actual patent document itself. And so they actually mentioned the Jetsons in this article, but the pictures don't make it look too plausible. I mean, it looks pretty ridiculous, but it's being worked on in a place called Mountain View, which is actually really close to Google, the Googleplex as it's called, and the guy who is the main engineer was contacted by the writer of this article who said, "Hey, look what I found." And he said, "Hey, you know what's going on? Are you indeed working on this with Google?" And he says, "I'm working in Mountain View with a firm not affiliated to Google." But when the guy said, "So are you yourself affiliated with Google on this project?" There was no answer yet. So Google might indeed have an overall kind of patent on this flying car design, and it looks pretty stupid, but it's real. It's real.
Wow, we're finally there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember in the 50s and 60s, you've been in a flying car?
I've been using them for years. You guys need to catch up.
Maybe the Germans made one a while ago.
The Germans.
And I guess the dream of the 50s and 60s and the space race was that, we'd have ABC, we'd have flying cars, the Jetsons would be reality sooner than we thought. By the year 2000, we'd have all this stuff. The year 2000 came and we had frickin' Britney Spears, Right. So we're still waiting for all this technology stuff that was promised 50 years ago.
They had a time capsule. They got all these sci-fi writers to back in like 1950 something. All these really popular minds of sci-fi and maybe science in general to write down their predictions of the future. And then like last year they opened it, and a lot of them were pretty far off, but some of them were actually like eerily spot on. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, like
really?
Isaac Asimov was actually pretty spot on with one of his predictions.
Yeah, totally.
What was it?
He had said, I think he brought up like departing from like we'll be closer to an invisible currency, and like away from the check. I'm not. There's like 20 different people who had all these predictions. Right. I'm not sure which one of his is. Brian, find it for me.
Well, speaking of invisible technology, they've just come out with a way to basically hide from a radar.
Hide.
Shot.
Yeah, like they found a way to bend a light so that if a radar's trying to find you, they won't detect you.
Wow.
It's basically a cloaking device, is what they're saying they've come out with.
That's what I need.
Yeah, what would you do?
Who the hell's trying to look at, trying to find your bitch ass anyway?
People with the radar. They're looking for me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay.
George, what would you do with a cloaking device?
I don't even want to know with that laugh.
You go spy on some girl showering, probably.
I don't need a cloaking device for that. Get in the shower, bitch.
I think I would just use it to trick people, like sneak up behind them and like knock something over and freak them out, like pretend to be a ghost.
Ooh, that's a ghost. Okay. Is that what you would be doing in the house when you're knocking down their precious valuables? Ooh, it's a ghost.
No, I'd be like, "This is your grandfather."
What are you talking about? He's upstairs sleeping.
Oh, then this is your grandmother.
Well, you sound the same.
Why haven't you changed?
Well, on a different tech note, BBM was officially released for Android and iOS iPhones a few weeks ago, which is, in my opinion, about 6 years too late.
Is it free?
Yeah, I don't know. Who cares?
What's BBM?
It's BlackBerry Messenger.
Oh.
So basically, whoever had a BlackBerry back in the day could message one another and do group chats and all that stuff for free.
Uh-huh.
Because that was when like texts were being charged, or you had to get a separate text plan. It wasn't like how it is now, where basically everything's unlimited these days. So back in the day, BlackBerry people could contact and communicate with BlackBerry people for free, and it was fast and it was instant and it was cool. So once BlackBerry started going downhill, that's the one thing that people missed about BlackBerry is the BlackBerry Messenger. So instead of BlackBerry, because they're a disaster of a company, thinking, hey, let's make this into a program that you can use on all platforms and maybe, extend the life of our company. They didn't do that, and BlackBerry is basically a dying company at this point. It's on its last legs, probably on its knees by now. And now BBM was released for all mobile devices a few weeks ago, and I don't know why anybody would even care at this point. Nobody has BBM anymore.
Well, in other good news, I just got a CD in the mail for AOL 11.0.
Yes, how many?
That's awesome.
I just need to get a modem installed.
Yeah.
I got to take out my cable modem and get a real modem.
Do you even have a CD drive in your computer?
How
many? My CD drive is blocked by my floppy drive.
Oh damn! Flop blocked.
He's got a floppy disk.
Flop.
Don't flop block me, CD drive.
Flop block.
Another tech note.
Techno.
The people that have Snapchat.
Yeah.
The guy, he's 23 years old, one of the owners of it, and he turned down selling the company for $4 billion.
Wow.
I'm gonna go. He actually, the headquarters is like right down the block from my house. I'm gonna go smack him.
Yeah. I don't know what he's expecting, but that's greedy.
Shit. Right. I mean, you gotta have some big cojones to want to turn that shit down for $4 billion.
Yeah, take that and go start a new company.
That's insane. I just heard about Snapchat for the first time, today.
Like right now.
Yeah, right now.
No,
but
Snapchat is
it's pretty new still, and it's already such a huge commodity to somebody.
Yeah.
Snapchat is a way for people to send sex pictures, slightly less paranoid about the aftermath.
But there are actually ways of accessing every picture sent and received on your Snapchat since it's been installed on your phone. You can either hack the phone itself and get those pictures, or pay for an app that can retrieve those pictures. So no one's really safe. And if I wanted to be a dirtbag, I could do that.
But you are.
No, but I wouldn't necessarily. If I wanted to be a dirtbag, Brian, I have a lot of spicy pictures on there from people of my past that I could use against them, but I'm deciding not to because I'm a good person.
But the fact that you brought it up still makes you a dirtbag.
No, it doesn't. It makes me a pragmatist.
Do we have the luxury of choosing if we want to be a dirtbag?
Of course.
George is sending his headshots to girls. Do you think I look okay?
I never ask. I
believe you would do some bullshit like that.
I don't think my hair looks good in this one, but what do you think?
You're right.
I never ask for their approval.
You have 10 seconds to respond, or this message will self-destruct.
Oh, you guys are so full of shit. Never do I ask for their approval. That's why I'm always kicking me to the curb, because I never ask if what they think is good. I always tell them what I think is good.
A traditionalist. Yeah, sure, right.
George doesn't. So wait, you send them your headshot. You say this picture is good.
Exactly.
You like my hair now. You have 10 seconds to admire this Snapchat before it deletes.
This is your new favorite one of me.
If you have any mental illness, please lose my number. I want to have babies.
I'm prettier than you.
Hey, you know it.
Yeah, man.
You only brush your hair 100 times a day. All right.
I don't
anything
brush
else?
my hair even once a day. This is natural, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Is anything else going on in tech news or?
I have one more crazy tech story.
Yeah. Oh boy.
The government.
Sex robot? Are you talking about sex robot?
That's a topless robot.
Oh.
No.
The government on their fedbizops.gov, where it's an opportunity to be involved with a federal program, they've released a solicit for a death ray, a laser for air dominance platforms. They say the Air Force Research Lab is requesting information describing concepts for airborne laser systems for future air dominance platforms. The emphasis of this effort is to identify potential laser systems that could be integrated into the platform that will provide air dominance by the year 2030.
Oh God!
And then it goes down. It's like we want to reach speeds up to Mach 6, 2.5. It has all these stats. Technical questions should be directed to Dr. Sylvia Dorado at 505-248-8211. It has her fucking number. What the hell? It's so weird, right? And then it has her email, and then there's another guy named Dr. Dan Herrick at 505-853-5189 for anybody who's listening who, you've been working on your death ray in your mom's basement, and now you can get it out into the real world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, I guess, all right, look, let's look to the future here. Should aliens ever invade and are hostile, we need to start having these things, I guess. But in the immediate future, this could only spell doom for people.
Yeah. See, if this would have been the problem with Gravity, I would have loved that movie. Our death ray accidentally blew a ship out of the sky. Just kidding.
So, Chris, you would want to use the death ray against these extraterrestrials instead of getting to know them?
What I'm saying is, we right now, if they were to get to us before we even got to Mars, think about how technologically advanced they would be. A frickin' machine gun isn't going to do a squat to them. They are way past machine guns. They would be 1,000 years past machine guns.
We're talking about a laser.
We got lasers now.
Yeah, they'll use
more lasers.
You're talking about ray guns that could pretty much shoot at the speed of light. Come on, let's think. Let's
see Mars attacks, man.
They could probably, they might be able to deflect lasers too.
All of a sudden I'm speaking to three alien aficionados. You guys don't know shit. They might be.
They just found aliens in Iran. We might have to go use those lasers on them.
Oh yeah, the aliens have the WMDs and the yellow cake, so we're gonna get them.
Yeah, they got the aluminum tubes as well.
George, you're like that chick in Independence Day who goes to the roof and waits to be abducted with this smile. You love aliens and you would be the first to go in the wave of the war. I swear you will.
Yeah, you'd be the one that would take me and then they just kill you.
No, hell no, I'm not giving up like that. But then again, I'm gonna see what they have to say first.
They got nothing to say, but
right.
Give me your stomach.
Here's a picture of my hair. This is your favorite human. I'm your new favorite human.
You just walk up to him naked and you say, "You see this? This is good."
Probe me. You'll never get a better specimen.
Cream of the crop. George, are you still there?
Do you want some love advice, you Martian freak?
They should take it.
All right, so
Tell all book
Bryce,
by George Columbus. What I say to the Martians.
And see, that's racist. You're assuming they're from Mars.
I'm just saying. What I say to Alpha Centauri number 5.
Oh God.
Okay, so Bryce, Bryce has basically got a blog where he talks about whatever nerdy things are on his mind, and he's got a lot of them. Bryce, how is that blog going? And tell everyone where they could find you.
Well, it's going really well, Chris, and it's Bryce Abood, BryceAbood.wordpress.com, and I actually next week is Terminator Week, and I've got some special stuff planned, including a special guest who actually has nothing to do with the Terminator franchise, but is in fact one of the mainstays in pop culture as far as I'm concerned.
Is it RoboCop?
No, but he's a robot. That's funny. He does play a robot on TV. It's Dr. Quinn from C-Lab 2021 on Adult Swim.
Oh, nice.
He's gonna be. We're gonna go review the Terminator Salvation arcade game together, and that's gonna be the climax of Terminator Week. So if you like Terminator or hate Terminator and want to find a good platform to spew your hatred, come to my blog next week.
So,
starting on Monday.
By the way, Bryce, how many followers do you have on your blog? If you don't mind us asking.
Brian, get out of here, Brian.
It's always about it's a measuring contest with Brian constantly. Hey, George,
I'm just asking.
What's your SAG status this week? It's the same as last week, Brian. It's the same as fucking last week.
All right, I'm wrapping this up. Bryce
George,
Abood
how many followers does your SAG status have?
I don't know. Ask Brian. He probably knows more than I do about my own SAG status.
Excuse me while I pretend to actually give a shit about you, George, but no.
Yeah. So, Bryce, does anybody actually read this blog of yours, kid?
My readers are some of the most loyal and dedicated people, and
I can take a back seat to asking questions.
Both of them have told me that raising me was a joy, and that they're really proud of.
Brian Williams, would you suck a Martian penis for a third SAG waiver?
What do you mean, kid? I blew a Martian the other day. I have it.
Oh, congrats.
I still have this thing called a job with full benefits. I'm all right. I'm okay.
Oh, you got the full benefits, not the half.
Yeah, kid.
Ryan, one of the benefits is you get to be first in line to suck Martian dick.
Yeah, but a guy never kisses and tells shit.
No, kid, I just blew my union rep.
All right, everybody. If you want to check out Brian Williams, you can go to the local union he's in and see him sucking up.
Don't promote me. Promote Bryce. The hell's the matter with you? This is your show. Come on now.
All right, everybody. Check out Bryce Abood at WordPress. Bryce, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, no problem, man.
I'm going to put on my professional radio voice now. George and Brian, any final words?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Brian, no words. Okay. Everybody, check us out at shootingdish.com. You could email us at shootingdish@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Shooting the Ish. What?
I ain't blowing no marks for no waivers.
All right. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Shooting the Ish, shootingtheish.com. You could listen to the archive. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Later.
Bye-bye.